guys, and welcome back to the Crawl Room. We're back once again in this wonderful ranty room for all things Formula 1. So, the Qatar Grand Prix has come to a close, and what could be said about that shower of shite? I honestly can't believe it. I can't believe it. I've got to record Sunday evening, so I am fuming. Absolutely fuming. I cannot believe how much of a joke this weekend has been with the FIA stewards once again. It's just not acceptable. It's just not acceptable. Is this the death of Formula 1? I mean, I know it's been going downhill for a while, but what on earth has been happening this weekend? What on earth has been happening this weekend? One place grid drop for impeding a car on an outlap that was also on an outlap. What the hell's all that about? 10-second time penalties, 5-second time penalties, drive-through penalties, 10-second stop-go penalties, things that should have been penalties that weren't penalties. Just what a mess. So if you've never seen this series before, I award the drivers out a maximum of 10 points based on their overall race weekend's performance and go all the way down to 0 if they have a particularly bad one. Take a look out for bonus points though. They're sometimes not for some drivers who do something extra special during a race, and on the rare occasion I do all minus points, those drivers do something extra special but for all the wrong reasons. Let's take a look at the current Crawl Room standings then going into this episode. It is on the screen now for you to take a look at. Have a look and see where your favourite driver is, and based on this race weekend's performance, can you see them going up? Can you see them going down? Charles Leclerc with a firm handle on the championship lead at the moment here on the Crawl Room standings. Nico Hulkenberg in second. It looks like it's going to be those two for 1-2 certainly, with the gaps and margins they have over their nearest rivals. But there's a big battle brewing for third, and that's where it's going to get tasty, I think. Especially after this weekend's performance, where some of those drivers did particularly well, others didn't do so good, did they? So we'll divulge all that in a second. But before we do, let's take a look at the team standings as well. That's all there to look for. We're in the closing stages of the championship now, not just for the drivers but for the teams as well. You'll notice that there is icons and scores at the side of the main scores. They're either plus points or minus points. Those scores will be added or deducted from the team scores at the end of the season. Those points have not yet come off. So have a quick look and see where your favourite team is, see how many plus or minus points they've got and work out kind of where they're going to be. I can manipulate this separately to what the drivers are awarded. But yeah, ultimately, it is what it is. It's going to be all down to the final race in Abu Dhabi for the teams, just like it is in real life. So without further ado, then, let's kick things off with the race winner then, shall we? Who? Max Verstappen. Bloody hell. Bloody hell, I mean, it's crazy, isn't it? We were sick of Max winning. We've been absolutely sick of him winning. But this one was a welcome win. It was nice to see him do so well. This weekend's been a sprint weekend, hasn't it? But I normally award up to additional 3 points. I'm not asked about the sprint. Could not give a shit. But for Max Verstappen, the sprint race was particularly difficult. Being there in a P8, only picking up 1 point in the main sprint race itself, but when it all mattered in qualifying, he got pole position. Or did he? Oh no. He got a one-place grid drop for impeding George Russell when they were both on outlaps because Verstappen was driving too slowly. He didn't meet the delta times. Now, how many times has that been said since that rule has come in, that drivers didn't meet the delta times of the slowest lap they're allowed to do on their outlap? I think even in the Qatar sprint race qualifying itself, what was it? Was the 16 or 17 cars all under investigation at the same time for all doing the same thing? But no, we'll award a penalty to Max Verstappen. Absolute horseshit. Not buying it at all. Anyway, he lined up P2, then he got into P1, and then he just led the race from there. I just want to get this over and done with, to be honest with you guys, because I'm absolutely fuming about this weekend. It's really pissed me off. Every corner and every turn and I just don't get it. Yeah, I'm really annoyed. But yeah, Max Verstappen, it's been a brilliant race weekend for him overall. I don't know where the pace went on that sprint qualifying and sprint race itself, but whatever setup changes they made overnight, it worked, and it worked well. So fair play to them for that, because here he is winning the race after genuinely getting pole. You know, they've not had that pace for ages. The best they've been lining up is like third, fourth, you know, so second row of the grid. So to line up on pole position, fantastic effort. Okay, got took away from him, but then to get it off the line, lead the race, and was comfortable. So fair play to Max Verstappen for that. It's a perfect 10, isn't it? Has to be a perfect 10. Well done to Max Verstappen. What a fantastic effort this weekend. Nice to see him back on top again. And even when they tried to take it away from him, he still went and won. So, fuck off FIA, you fucking bastards. 10 points to Max Verstappen. In second place, we come to La la, oh, sacre bleu, sha la 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 la, you treacle tits, you. Charles Leclerc this weekend for me, once again, a fantastic performance in the Ferrari that wasn't quite as quick as the McLarens, which ultimately is their main rivals for the Constructors' Championship. At one stage it looked like it was going to be massive advantage to McLaren over the Ferraris, but the way the race ebbed and flowed and got bullshitted about a bit with safety cars, and we're not calling safety cars, and we're allowed to have a wing mirror on track, and then someone can smash it up so then we can cause punctures, then we'll have a safety car. Great job, stewards. Yep. Oh. It's disgusting, isn't it? Pinnacle of motorsport, this. Pinnacle of motorsport. And we have that amateur shit go on. So yeah, Charles Leclerc was a great beneficiary of another penalty that happened during the race, which we'll discuss later on. But even so, he was on the pace for the podiums anyway, was doing a really good job throughout the weekend, and finishes here in P2, maximising the points opportunities available to him. Should he have got a Red Bull? Well, most of the time you'd say yes, but that Red Bull was certainly on form this weekend. Charles Leclerc got the best out of it he could on a circuit that looked like it was going to be advantage McLaren, which it certainly was at times. They managed to make it advantage Ferrari. It's still unlikely that they'll wrap up the constructors in Abu Dhabi. However, they've certainly gone into Abu Dhabi with a more realistic chance than what they would have done. For Charles Leclerc, it's a perfect 10 to him as well. Fantastic effort by him. Great weekend overall. And yeah, did the job he could with the car he had and got the maximum out of it. 10 to Shalala. Third place, the final podium position, we come to Oscar Piastri. A little bit flaky again though, wasn't he? A little bit flaky. But at least here he is picking up a podium. It wouldn't have been a podium, however, had it not been for Georgia the Russell being on hard tyres, had Sainz not had a puncture, had his teammate not had an issue, which we'll get to in a moment. So he sort of looked into this P3. Realistically, it was going to be P6 at best. But yeah, at least he's here, isn't he? At least he picked up something and was some consolation to McLaren, whereas the previous few races he's been absolutely nowhere at all. It's a shame, isn't it? Because Piastri started off so strong this season and was rivaling Lando and was matching Lando. And then these last few races, Lando's sort of been okay and been decent and respectable, but still not getting the maximum out of it at times. And Piastri's been P nowhere all the time. These last few races, he's really tailed off in performance. And the car hasn't. It's just him as a driver. So yeah, still a relative rookie, but there's no excuses anymore. He's getting a generous 6 from me. Generous 6 to Oscar Piastri. Probably generous by a point there, but at least he recovered something for McLaren and got on the podium. Should have been ahead of a Ferrari, absolutely, I would say, based on what we saw in the sprint qualifying format, the sprint race, the qualifying itself, but it wasn't to be in the race itself. And it's 6 points to Piastri. You've got to thank me for him, buddy. Got to thank me for him. That's your best score in a long while on this series. Yeah, that's that. 6-2, Oscar Piastri. Finishing in 4th place, we come to Georgia the Russell. Watch out for them hard tyres. Yeah. Georgia the Russell, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. What were Mercedes playing at? To pit him again, fair enough. Get the mediums on it. We're in a safety car period. Brilliant. Get the mediums on. Get them mediums on. Get them No, we'll go hards. We'll go hard tyres. Fuck's sake. Why? Unbelievable. So that certainly didn't help his race weekend this weekend. However, he didn't help himself in the race, did he? Off the line, he got mugged. He dropped down to P3. He just got mugged. He got mugged. He did a Norris. Russell did a Norris this weekend. He got pole position. Fair enough, it was gifted to him. Clearly a Toto backhander somewhere or a crafty hand job round the back somewhere. I don't know. I'm just speculative. Purely, you know. Me just being a little bit mischievous there. But, yeah, honestly, I just can't believe it. I just cannot believe he got pole position, which was absolute horseshit. But nonetheless, he got it anyway. And then he bottled it. So that's karma, isn't it? That's justice for what happened in some respects, that he bottled the start. And then P4, yeah, it could have probably been a podium had he been on the medium compound tyres, but he wasn't. P4's a consolation, but it's 6 points. 6 points. You got gifted pole position, George, and then proceeded to do nothing with it. What more would you like me to give you? It's 6 points and you're going to thank me for them, mate. tell you. So yeah, 6th to George Russell, 4th place. Brilliant. In 5th place, we come to Pierre Gasly in the first of the Alp Indias. That's right, the bright pink Alpines. Yeah, Gasly this weekend. Of course, I am chuffed for Gasly. Annoyed, though, with, obviously, my team Haas. Going on the back foot from this result, it must be said. Gasly was just opportunistic, right place, right time, when that debris finally got smashed into by Valtteri Bottas getting off the line for blue flags. There, and then the punctures were caused. It meant Gasly got a free pit stop, so that certainly helped him. The punctures that the car sustained were ahead of him as well, so not only was he gifted a P6, it was a shame, wasn't it? He was gifted a P6, and then Perez broke down, and then that gifted him a P5. And then Sainz, with a punctured tyre, he said it caused damage to the car. Certainly said there was more damage sustained than just the puncture, which I'm not surprised, because he had to do a whole lap with that punctured tyre. Couldn't get around him. And P5 is where Gasly is. Had it been for a normal race, of course he would have still benefited by the Haasses, of course, pitting before the safety car came out. But that safety car should have come out a lot sooner, before that wing mirror was even hit and before it started causing punctures. It's disgusting, absolutely disgraceful that. I don't agree with it at all. It needs to be said that was piss poor. It really does. So Pierre Gasly this weekend, I'm going to give him 9 points out of the maximum of 10. Mainly for the fact that before all the shit and shenanigans kicked off, he was running behind the likes of Magnussen. He was doing well to be inside the points. He dispatched of Tsunoda, dispatched of Alonso, and was doing a good job in that sense. Then got a little bit lucky, and then on the restart he had that big lock-up, didn't he, and ran wide whilst George Russell was attacking him at that point. So yeah, it was a great weekend. I don't want to take anything away from Gasly, but there were little moments there where a little bit of luck, and of course that little scruffiness of that look. It could have caused a puncture. It could have caused a bigger flat spot than it actually was, and he would have had to do an extra pit stop, etc. So I'm knocking a point off for that, but I'm not discrediting Gasly in any way. It was a great weekend overall. A P5 finish for them. Alpine now 5 points ahead of Haas, which is a shame because Alpine have looked into a P5, but that's how racing goes, and I don't mind when opportunistic things happen, but it annoys me because somehow this feels manipulated. Not just for Gasly and not just for Alpine. I'm not saying that as a bitter Haas fan, but you know when you see a wing mirror on track and you think, what's your ultimatum here, guys? Why are you not calling a VSC there? Which would have hampered Haas anyway, because the pit before that, but when you see a wing mirror on the track that is clearly a massive object that you know is going to damage a car if it gets hit and then likely to cause punctures, which it did, why wasn't the safety car or virtual safety car brought out instantly in that moment? As soon as you saw that piece of debris on the racetrack, it's got to be a virtual safety car, hasn't it? But it wasn't, and that's a big shame, and it makes you wonder what were they trying to manipulate this weekend, the FIA. Looking like it was the Constructors' Championship going further into the final, wasn't it, to make something to shout about? Who knows? But yeah, 9 points to Gasly anyway. The entire race, though, was just a fucking joke. But Gasly got the maximum out of it. Well deserved. He's been Q3 appearances. He's been points regularly these last few races. He certainly deserves it. 9 to Gasly. 6th place, we come to Carlos Sainz. Smooth operator. Smooth operator. Did a good job. Did a good job this weekend, it must be said. Sort of very even with his teammate Leclerc this weekend, I would say. He was very unfortunate with the puncture, though, and that's what cost him. And not only that, he just stopped for those tyres as well. So he had to do a stop, then came out, then got the puncture, then had to do an entire lap with a punctured tyre. Then it was only when he came into the pit lane that they decided, oh yeah, we best do a safety car for that. So he had to do an entire lap under green flag conditions, effectively, as well. So it wasn't as if the safety car was called and he could limp it back and other cars were at slower speeds. It looked like he was going to struggle to scrape a point, but as it was, he ended up back out just inside the points, if I remember rightly. And here he is finishing P6. Tried to mount an attack on Gasly, but couldn't. Again, Carlos saying his car was more damaged than just the punctured tyre itself, which I don't disbelieve. I don't discredit him for that. So I am going to be a little bit lenient with him for that. And even if he got past Gasly, P5 was still a great effort and a great recovery drive from where he was just, a few laps earlier. So it could have been an all game over, but instead he picks up a few points here Ferrari would have preferred him to be P5 instead of P6, but without the puncture, we could have been looking at a podium finish. So great unluckiness and great shame to Carlos Sainz. It's 7.5 to him for what was a solid weekend overall, and unlucky with a puncture that shouldn't have happened. 7.5 to Carlos Sainz. In 7th place, we come to Fernando Alonso in the first of the Aston Martins. Well, only Aston Martin really, wasn't it? Jesus Christ. Yeah, Alonso this weekend again did a good job with the car he was given. Did he scrape into Q3? I believe he did, didn't he? And then the race itself, it looked to be going all wrong at the start, didn't he? He was complaining of how slow the car was on the straight, came over the T radio, 2 years running at this circuit now, we have no pace down the straight. Complaining of it clipping, of course, which clipping means the car reaches its maximum velocity it's ever going to reach, and it was like on the limiter. So yeah, Alonso was very frustrated, but I'm sure he'll be happy with the P7 he got. Again, was lucky to get this P7 as a result of the misfortunes of the likes of Hamilton with the puncture and the timing of the safety car and VSC and whatever fucking all shit happened. But again, Alonso put himself at the right place, right time, was on the right tyre as well, crucially. He got onto that medium compound tyre when he had that pit stop, and that is well deserved, and that's what kept him up there. So fair play to Alonso. Nice to see him back inside the points again after he's had like a few races where it's either just been P nowhere or just on the fringes but not quite succeeding in scoring a point. So yeah, fantastic effort indeed by Alonso, and for that reason it's going to be 10 points. 10 points to Fernando Alonso. Perfect 10 to him. I don't think he could have been expected to do any more than that. Didn't really put a wheel wrong or a foot wrong. I know some people are going to say, God, you've given Alonso a 10 but only Gasly a 9. Gasly made a little mistake there, didn't he, in the race, and Alonso just kept his head down. He did have that little wide moment though, didn't he, and it had that rejoin and that was investigated, but that was nothing. I mean, where are you going to go? It's all bloody runoff, you know, so I don't really hold that against him. There was a lot of cars running wide. He had one little wide moment, but ultimately a great weekend. Nice to see Aston back in the points as well, of course, and it's a perfect 10 to Fernando Alonso. In 8th place, we come to the driver of the day in real life and my personal driver of the day in Zhou Guanyu in the state kick me up the arse Sauber. Fantastic weekend by Zhou Guanyu, disqualified on the crawl room and has been for a number of races. But the upgrades that have come onto this Sauber car, they've finally decided to invest in something. For Vegas, it worked well. He drove well. He couldn't really do much more than was expected of him with a P13 finish in the end, I think. Close to getting into Q3 that time. This time around in Qatar, he was qualified himself P12 for the main race. And in the race itself, was on the fringes of the points throughout. Even without the issues of the puncture and the timing of the safety cars, etc., he would have still scraped a point. I totally believe that. I think the pace of that Sauber car was certainly a points-paying car, and Zhou was driving well throughout. So even with all the misfortune and fortune and whatever else played their way, there was still a point there, even if it had just been a standard boring race and that wing mirror would have never have fallen off. He drove well. Well done, and congratulations to State Kick Me Up the Arse Sauber. They have been a joke throughout most of the season. Zhou Guanyu has been very poor throughout the season, but credit where credit is due. These upgrades have come to the car a little bit late, admittedly. I mean, why are they bothering now? They're not going to get anything other than last in the Constructors, but at least they've got some points. They've had something to celebrate, something to cheer. Zhou Guanyu equals his best ever performance in Formula 1 with a P8 finish. His last P8 finish was Canada 2022 in a far superior Sauber, Alfa Romeo back then, to what it is now, which makes this race all the more impressive. Yep, there was a high rate of attrition. That's not Zhou's fault. He qualified himself P12, finishes P8, had pace for points. Bravo, Zhou. Bravo. I said you were worth talking about in Vegas. You're certainly worth talking about here in Qatar. Maybe, just maybe, Abu Dhabi can be a good race as well for him, and he can end his Formula 1 career potentially off with some more points on the board. It'd be lovely to see. I've always said Zhou's a great guy. You know, is very, very quiet demeanour, very polite within the paddock. No one's got a bad word to say about him. That's what Ted Kravitz says as well every time he does the notebook, how lovely Zhou Guanyu is. And it's nice to see a lovely guy get a lovely result. Yep, okay, he's not been the wonder kid that we all expected. I had high hopes for him going into 2022. They fell short, sadly, of what I expected from him. He never quite got there. But yeah, in his third season of Formula 1, he puts in probably the best performance of his career with a P8 finish here for the State Kick Me Up the Arse Sauber squad. Bravo, Zhou. 8th place, 4 points for you and the team. Sadly, I can't score you any here, but it's appreciated. Well done, mate. Well done. In 9th place, we come to Kevin Magnussen in the first of the Haasers. It's a couple of points, which is a good effort. It was a Q3 appearance, which is a good effort. He looked in the early stages to have the measure of the cars that he needed to be in the RBs, the Alpines. He was the lead car that was there to pick up the points, to get more points over the cars that he needed to, the teams that he needed to outperform. He was doing just that. They elected for an early stop, but the wing mirror was already on the track at that point. So it was a little bit naive of Haas to pit him in that moment, but if he was struggling on the medium compound tyres, then it's understandable. The thought, let's get him in, let's go for the undercut option, got himself into clear air. It could have worked out. However, of course, then we know that the debris got hit. He had a contact. There was all sorts of shenanigans happened on track with the punctures, etc. After all the pit stops had fallen, instead of Magnussen being in P9 where he was in the race, he was P11, and Gasly got the free pit stop because he didn't pit until the safety car, and he was then P6. So it was sadly then disadvantage to Haas there. And then when the race restarted, he managed to get past Alonso, was it? No, it wouldn't have been Alonso, was it? Who did he get past? I can't remember who he got past now, but probably Bottas in the Sauber, potentially. But either way, he got past one car, got himself into the points, and then had a big duel with Alex Albon in the Williams, who was just hell-bent on pushing him off at turn 1 every time. Every time. I don't quite understand what was going on there with Alex this weekend. He was on the soft compound tyre, which was a very bizarre choice with a lot of laps left to go. But yeah, Magnussen lost a hell of a lot of time then to be able to gain on the other cars when eventually he did get past Alex Albon. And then P9 was the best he could do. I think had he got past Alex a lot sooner, it'd have been P8, so it narrowed that deficit a little bit, but it would have still been an advantage Alpine come the end. But yeah, what a difference it would have made had Kevin Magnussen finished P8, had Sainz got Gasly. It'd have mitigated it down to around 2 points instead of the 5, which is a big, big haul of points for a team that is only battling realistically for 9th and 10th at any given weekend. 5 points is a massive points haul to overcome because, of course, you need to score 6. So, yeah, difficult one. But, yeah, nonetheless, Kevin Magnussen this weekend, it's an 8-point performance from him. Solid weekend overall. Clumsy on the first lap where he had a little bit of shenanigans with Perez and Hamilton. Didn't need to be getting involved with those guys. They were going to bugger off into the distance anyway, and that cost him some positions at the start. Recovered back, though. Recovered well. And then got shafted by the timing of the safety car. And then got Alboned a couple of times. Yeah, 8 points to Magnussen. A solid effort, but not the weekend Haas were hoping for after such a strong sprint weekend, if you can call it that. Coming away with a couple of points, though, is better than nothing. And then last but by no means least, we come to Lando Norris.
Hey, 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 you've been disqualified, you bastard.
And there we have it. Disqualification to Lando Norris after being on a final warning for a couple of races. It's just been a disgusting season for him, hasn't it, overall? It really, really has. And he's blown his chances here. He's tried to blow the championship's chances for McLaren now to clinch the Constructors' title by not slowing down for double wave yellers. Everyone else managed it. Lando Norris did not. It was a 10-second stop-go penalty that he had to do, which meant he had to come into the pit stop for 10 seconds and go again. He couldn't add it to his pit stop time. He couldn't add it onto the race. We haven't seen a stop-go penalty for quite some time in Formula 1. I'm sure some stat nerd down below will let me know in the comments section how long it's actually been since the last 10-second stop-go penalty was awarded in Formula 1. But we're going back a few years now, aren't we? Certainly, I'm going to say mid-2000s was the last time we saw a 10-second stop-go. But yeah, Norris, blown it. Blown it, absolutely blown it. He's lucky he picked up 2 points, of course, P10 finish and the fastest lap. He was lucky to get himself inside the points, really. Yeah, he was driving like a man possessed. Oh, isn't it great to see? Yeah, it is. But he should have been up there fighting for the win. But he just couldn't be asked to slow down for double wave yellows like everyone else could. So yeah, Lando, silly, silly, silly boy. not learnt his lesson. How long has he been in Formula 1 now? He's not a rookie. He knows what double yellows are. Be prepared to slow down and stop. Stop. Crazy that, isn't it? Prepare to slow down or stop, and he just went blasting past it. Yeah, you might say a double wave yellow for a little bit of a wing mirror that got collected anyway was a little bit harsh. Yeah, you can say that, but rules are rules. Penalties are penalties. It's a 10-second stop go. The likes we've not seen for quite a while, but it's happened, and there it is. So yeah, Lando Norris disqualified on the crawl room after so many warnings. So many warnings. He's blown it again for the second consecutive year. So many mistakes. Lando Norris disqualified on the crawl room. And just missing out on the final points paying position in P11, we come to Valtteri Bottas in the second of the stake kick me up the arse Saubers. What a shame for Valtteri just to miss out by one solitary point. He was out qualified by Zhou Guanyu this weekend and was being outraced by him as well. It must be said though that we are hearing that Bottas did sustain damage after he hit the wing mirror. It damaged the rear floor, which caused his lack of pace. Which is understandable. You can't really argue with that, can you? It was a substantial bit of kit, wasn't it? I mean, it's a wing mirror, for God's sake. It's not meant to really flex or move. It's just a solid bit of carbon fibre with some glass attached to it. So, yeah, it's understandable that it did do floor damage, and that obviously hampered his pace towards the end of the race and meant he couldn't hang on to a point. I mean, he's not really expected to finish ahead of McLaren anyway, is he, to be honest with you? But yeah, P11, so close yet so far for Bottas. But yeah, nonetheless, a weekend to celebrate for the State Kick Me at the Air squad overall. 4 points and a car just missing out on points is certainly commendable. Valtteri Bottas gets a solid 7 from me. He wouldn't have been getting that many had I not realised how much floor damage he sustained. The race pace itself was poor, but it's sympathy. It's sympathy. I'm sorry, but I'm awarding him a couple of sympathy points there because that wing mirror shouldn't have been there for him to hit. Should have been a virtual safety car into a safety car to remove that mirror before it got caught. But no, that's just me. That's just me. We'll cause some fake drama, shall we, and let people have punctures, because that's the fairest way to do it, absolutely. So yeah, Valtteri Bottas, 7 points to me this weekend. From me this weekend, I should say. Great effort by him. Well done, Valtteri. Shame it wasn't a point. Finishing in 12th place and outside the points, we come to the second of the Mercedes in Lewis Hamilton.
70 Grand Prix entries, more than many on the crawl room this year, but does anyone remember me? Sadly not.
And there we have it. Of the week. I'm not sure who it is, because Dave's got a little bit mixed up. I think it might be Gianni Morbidelli of the week for this guy. But yes, not only that, he's receiving minus 10 points as well. Minus 10 off of Lewis Hamilton's current crawl room standing score, because it's not acceptable to say, let's just retire the car, guys. Just pull me in and retire the car. Just pull me in. It was a difficult weekend overall, from start to finish for Lewis Hamilton. Didn't have the qualifying pace, didn't have the race pace, was making mistakes throughout the race, got himself a drive-through penalty for speeding in the pit lane when the cars had to come through the pit lane when we finally decided to pick up the remnants of the mirror. I'm still going on about that, I apologise. And then he served the drive-through penalty and then was like, yeah guys, just retire me, just retire me. They're like, negative Lewis, negative, a lot can happen in this race. And there was only 15 cars left, points down to 10th. There was a lot of cars that were on soft tyres that were struggling. There was opportunities there for points, but Hamilton gave up, and that is not acceptable. Not acceptable at all from me, to be honest with you. You don't give up. You don't give up. I don't care how shit your race weekend's gone. You do not give up. And yet, it were a tough one, but I think had he put his mind to it. I mean, he got overtaken by Lando, who had to do a 10-second stop-go, for fuck's sake. You know, there was opportunities there for points, even with the drive-through, but he just gave up, threw the towel in, got miserable, got Maungy, got Mardy, and I'm not having it. So yeah, it's minus 10 points and an of the week too, Lewis Hamilton. What a shame. What an absolute shame. After such a great weekend in Vegas, okay, he fluffed qualifying but recovered in the race. You thought he could do the same again in Qatar. It was just mistake after mistake, moan after moan, crying after crying, stuck behind the likes of Perez, just could not get around anyone. And then to top it all off, got a drive through and they're like, yeah, just retire me, just retire me. Not acceptable. Minus 10 to Lewis Hamilton and an of the week to him. Unlucky for some P13, we come to Yuki Tsunoda in the first of the Visa Cash App Maxi Tampon RBs. Don't forget your AlphaTauri, your Toro Rosso, your Minardi. Buy one, get one free. Buy one, get one free. I forgot that bit. But yeah, Tsunoda this weekend, a Miller 05 to him. Difficult to George. Off pace in the sprint qualifying and sprint race format. Not interested. The main race itself was okay. Was looking like he was going to get into points perhaps, but then they stuck him on the soft tyre and he left like a sitting duck. Miller 05 to Yuki. Probably generous actually. I can't really remember what the RBs did and I don't really care, to be honest with you. They were just both disappointing and didn't look like any sort of chance of points at all really in the race, because they just kept hampering themselves and they were tripping up over themselves and tripping up over other people. It was just a clumsy race. So yeah, overall Yuki Tsunoda, Miller 05, mainly because I know he was on the softs at the end and I can't really be asked to see what happened beforehand, because at least it didn't get points. It was nothing really worth shouting home about. P13, unlucky for Tsunoda, Miller 05 to him. P14, we come to Liam Lawson in the second of the Visa Cash App Maxi Tampon RBs. Buy one, get one free. Don't forget your AlphaTauri, your Toro Rosso, your Minardi. Remember the buy one free that time, didn't I? 2 points to Liam Lawson. That's all he's getting. He's thankful that he doesn't get an of the week. A poor performance all weekend for him. The sprint qualifying was good. The sprint race didn't go so well. He ended up tumbling right back down the order. But apart from that sprint qualifying performance where he was like inside the top 10, that was really as good as it got for him, wasn't it? The rest of the weekend was difficult, was tough, and walks away with no points. Had a lazy spin at turn 1, which he sort of collected Bottas but didn't quite hit him, but he got a 10-second time penalty for it anyway. Then was on the soft tyres, and here he is finishing behind his teammate. It's 2 points to Lawson, and that's that really. Oh dear indeed. Last of the runners, we come to Alex Albon, the first of the Williams, in 15th place.
I am Footwork's most successful driver, securing 8 points for the team, including 1 podium in the 1995 Australian Grand Prix. In an era where the bet marker teams got lapped up to 5 times a race and I never got my break with a big team, I honestly don't think I did too bad.
And there we have it, of the week 2, Alex Albon. Unfortunately for Alex and Williams in particular, once again another tough race. Williams and Alex, I don't know what they were doing. To put him on the soft tyres, it didn't make sense. I don't get it. I don't get why they went on the soft tyres. Now, I don't blame Alex for that bit at all. But what I do have to blame Alex for is his racecraft, because unfortunately this time around it was like he was frustrated he was on the soft tyres and he was trying his best to hold on to the points, and I get it, they need points, especially when it's looking like Chuffy and Sauber are going to score points, for God's sake. Of course you need to hold on to every position you've got, but there was a lot of times there where it was over the line. I mean, he got slammed into the side by Stroll at the start, didn't he, which didn't help matters, probably damaged his floor. But yeah, it was just a frustrating one again to watch, wasn't it? Williams bottled it by sticking him on the soft tyres, which were never going to last 17 laps. I don't know what they were thinking. But then for Alex to get frustrated behind the wheel and was really overly defending positions where I understand it's for points, but he shoved Magnussen off twice. He got a penalty once for that, and then we saw another incident where he pushed Bottas off. 3 times at turn 1 on the exit where you were fair and square got Alex there, but you just kept running him out wide. There were more than a car ahead. They were like there, and then the contacts happened across and pushed them onto the gravel so then they could get ahead. It's a little bit frustrating, unfortunately, for me, so it has to be an of the week. Points were absolutely possible by Williams this weekend. I don't blame Alex not for scoring points, because the points were lost when they decided to go on the soft tyre. I don't know what on earth possessed them. Go on the mediums, you've got chance. Go on the softs, why? I could see that wasn't going to work. But yeah, Alex has to be given an of the week for the over defence. It was just too over the limit, unfortunately for me personally. And the FIA clearly thought so with one of those moves by awarding a 10-second time penalty. Yeah, frustrating, and that's what Albon clearly felt as well. Frustration behind the wheel. Williams threw it away this weekend. There was a potential there for a P8, I would say, if he was on the medium compound tyres. He wouldn't have needed to defend. He can attack. The mediums would have got him easily to the end, and he could have even gone and fighting for those that were on the hard tyres towards the end of the race as well that didn't stop. So, yeah, there was options there. Sadly, Williams blew it by sticking him on the softs, but then Alex blew it just that little bit more by overly defending and just pushing cars off the track, which it's not good. It's not good. So yeah, it has to be an of the week for that. Yeah, we like to see Alex robust, we like to see him fight well, and we like to see him fight fairly. That's the main one. These moves were a little bit over the limit on more than one occasion. Of the week 2, Alex Albon. Then we come to the first retirement on this list, so the last to happen in the race. It is, of course, Nico Hulkenberg. Oh, I needed that.
Do not fear, Borbert Denny is here, said no one ever.
And there we have it. Of the week 2, Nico Hulkenberg as well. Talk about hero to zero. What he did in that sprint qualifying format and in the sprint race was superb. Finishing ahead of Max Verstappen to secure 2 points and a 7th place finish in that sprint race. You think, right, here we go. This is Aston's opportunity to really score some big points now and make sure that it doesn't matter what happens in Abu Dhabi, they will be 6th in the Constructors. The qualifying itself was unfortunate. A battery deployment issue on his final push lap meant that halfway around the lap, his battery had just said, no, I'm empty, guys. Sorry, despite it showing fully charged. It was an error. It was a software issue. So he didn't charge the battery up as much as he should because the battery was telling him it was full. So that's what happened in the qualifying. That's what left him down there in 18th, which is unfortunate. It's a shame. Then in the race itself, the only car to elect to start on the hard tyre compound. He'll be regretting that because he goes into turn 1. The tyres aren't up to temperature. He slides into the side of Esteban Ocon, who slides into the side of Franco Colapinto, takes both of those out, gives Hulkenberg a puncture. No penalty for Hulkenberg for that scenario though, but yet Lawson got a 10-second time penalty for just brushing Bottas as he spun. He didn't cause a collision, he just, Bottas had to take evasive action of a spinning Lawson effectively, whereas Hulkenberg caused a collision and took 2 cars out of the race. No penalty. Don't get it at all. But anyway, Hulkenberg limped back to the pits, went for the hard tyre option again. Fine. Then we had the whole fiasco with the wing mirror, and that all kicked off and whatever. Hulkenberg had already pitted prior to the safety car coming out, though. Again, I don't know why Haas did that. Should have just left him out there. He was on the hard tyre. He was on the mediums, though, then, and it was looking good. But then the second that safety car came in, he went round turn 4, 5, or whatever, lost it on the rears and spat it into the gravel. That would have been points for Hulkenberg this weekend because he would have got ahead of all those cars that were on the old hard tyres, I am convinced. Maybe he couldn't have got all the way up to Gasly, but would have certainly got himself to maybe 7th, I would say. 7th were possible on fresh medium tyres against cars that were on older hard tyres. It should have gone his way, but it didn't. It didn't, and hero to zero he was. So Nico Hulkenberg, unfortunately for him, it isn't of the week. It has to be. That was a poor performance by Nico. I know he's been feeling unwell this weekend, but I can't not penalise him for taking 2 cars out of a race and then himself later in the race, where there was opportunities there to mitigate the damage to what Gasly eventually did. So yeah, big shame for Hulkenberg, and of the week to him. I think that's his 4th now, so he's getting close to a disqualification. He can't now be disqualified because even if he gets another one at Abu Dhabi, it's still only 5, so he counts his chickens in that respect. But yeah, to be so high up in the standings this season and this be his 4th of the week really shows you what kind of season it's been in terms of poor driving standards, because 4 of the weeks would normally mean you're well down the order, but for Hulkenberg still to be in the podium places potentially, it's ridiculous. And of the week, 2, Nico Hulkenberg. Next up, we come to Checo, Sergio Perez. The less said, the better. Poor qualifying, poor sprints, poor sprint qualifying, poor sprint race. Qualifying, at least he got inside the top 10. The race itself looked in with the safety car period. Got himself into P5 and then had an hydraulics failure, which caused the spin. He didn't spin behind the safety car. He's not that bad. He's not that bad. He might not be able to see when a green light comes on at the end of the pit lane and Colapinto overtakes him. That might happen, but he didn't spin behind a safety car. He had an hydraulics failure, which caused the rear of the car to rotate, and that's what caused him to stop on track. So yeah, Perez, if it doesn't rain, it certainly pours, doesn't it? It looked like he might have been on for a decent top 5 finish there, potentially, and then his car decided, no. That's not happening today, Checo. get yourself pointless like you have for the most part of the season. Great stuff, Checo. Disqualified anyway, remains that way. That's that. Then we come to Lance Stroll. Fantastic stuff. Lewis Hamilton, of course, in Lance Stroll's territory of just retired the car, guys. I'm fucked off with this. He smashes into the side of Alex Albon, spins Albon round. Stroll keeps going but has damage. He's convinced there's more damage than what was actually on the car to start with. Had a pit stop, came out, got a 10-second time penalty, served the 10-second time penalty. He's like, just retire me, I've had enough. Daddy don't mind if I don't keep the money going round, don't matter to me, I just want to go home and play tennis. So yeah, he just stopped the car, that's it. Could have kept going, could have been points that weekend again, so he gave up so much earlier than he should have done. And what a tip. So yeah, Stroll this weekend, even he had chance of points, but he threw in the towel, and that's what you don't do in Formula 1. What a knob. Yeah, doesn't deserve to be on the grid, but we know that anyway. Disqualified anyway of the cruel room. Has been for a number of races. And yeah, 2 drivers this weekend throwing in the towel. Stupid. And then we come to Esty Bestie Ocon. Esty Bestie to you. Ain't like Esty Bestie Ocon. 1 point. 1 point Esty Bestie's getting, and he's going to thank me for him. Eliminated in Q1 again, and the race itself didn't really get going, did it? Got took out by Nico Hulkenberg at the start, which wasn't his fault, but he shouldn't have been that far down there anyway. Heavy rumours that Jack Doohan is going to be stepping in place of Esty Bestie Ocon for Abu Dhabi to give Doohan a full race weekend. So that'll be interesting to see how that goes. Ocon's been struggling the last few races. I know they keep saying there's updates on Gasly's car that aren't on Ocon's, but I doubt it's making this much of a difference. Yeah, I'm not convinced it's making that much of a difference. It will make a little bit, maybe a Q3 appearance for Gasly and a Q2 appearance for Ocon would be understandable, but certainly not the vast difference that we're seeing between the two of them. Unless there's foul play involved at Alpine, which there probably is, because Flavio Briatore is there now, isn't he? He's been known for cheating, hasn't he, in the past? Where have we seen that before? But yeah, so, you know, maybe there is foul play and maybe they are making Ocon look really bad just to justify bringing Jack Doohan in potentially a race early. I don't know, that's just pure speculation. But yeah, Esteban Ocon, 1 point to him. He can thank me for it, and that's that. And then last but by no means least, we come to Franco Colapinto in the Williams, and it's 1 point to him as well, and he can thank me for him. Lining up at the back of the grid, wasn't it? 19th and 20th in sprint qualifying and the main qualifying. Not great at all there, and then taken out on lap 1 in the main race where it matters. I'm not bothered about sprints, to be honest with you, unless someone does something ridiculously good. But like Hulkenberg, I'd have probably given him 2 or 3 points for what he did in the sprint qualifying, but his main race was that bad, it mitigates that and he gets nothing at all. So there's not really anyone else that I've given any sprint bonus points to be honest. But yeah, the main race itself for Franco Colapinto was over before it began, out on turn 1, no fault of his own, but he shouldn't have been that far down the order. So yeah, another tough weekend for Colapinto. After coming in all guns blazing, it's like the pressure's got to him now to continuously deliver. A little bit like Lawson, I need to keep delivering, I need to keep delivering. I've like come in running and they've tripped up over themselves. They've come into the sport too fast, shown themselves to be good too soon, tripped up over themselves, and now they've got to try and get back on the feet and recover and then start staggering off again. So yeah, all being well, Colapinto has a strong finish to the Abu Dhabi race weekend. Next weekend has a strong finish to his season, so puts him on the driver market potentially for 2026, but at the moment, tough weekend again, but he was out due to no fault of his own. 1 point to Colapinto. That's as good as it's getting. So everything, guys, those were the runners and riders of the Qatar Grand Prix. Let me know down in the comment section, did I score any drivers too high, any too low? The updated standings with the scores they've just awarded are on the screen now for you to take a look at. Have a look and see where your favourite driver is right now, and based on how you think they're going to go in Abu Dhabi, could it be all game over? Is it Charles Leclerc's title? I honestly think it is. I think Charles has done it. Siding anything ridiculous that Charles decides to do, like run over his own pit crew and then go on a mass rampage up and down the pit lane, smashing into everyone's cars. I can't see him losing that many points now to lose out on this Cruel Room title. So maybe early congratulations are in place for Charles Leclerc, but maybe, just maybe, I'll undisqualify Lance Stroll and give him 1,000,000 points. Who knows? Who knows? But yes, take a look and see where your favourite driver is now. And yeah, there's certainly a lot left to play for. The podium places are hotting up, I would say. It needs to be a strong weekend for a lot of drivers to try and clinch the final 2 places on the podium potentially there. But yeah, realistically, Charles Leclerc's sort of got it now. Yeah, you never know until it's over. And let's take a look at the team standings as well then, shall we? That's also on the screen for you to have a look at. I'm not manipulating this in any way, shape or form. Whatever the points the drivers have scored have been added to the tally of the teams. Of course, just remember that those minus points or plus points at the side of the scores have not yet been deducted. They will be taken off or added on when the season comes to a close. We will, of course, crown a proper Constructors Champion in Abu Dhabi, and you'll also crown a Teams Champion here on the Crawl Room as well. A massive thanks, as always, goes out to Dan Bartlett, formerly of Mushy Gaming, for providing me with the scoreboard that you saw on your screen, for the driver icons you see in the corner of your screen, and for the intro as well. Without him, this series would be more pointless than it already is. And who can forget Dave, F1 Games PlayStation, for providing me with the of the weeks that you don't necessarily know, but you know you're going to love them. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. I'll see you all next week for the finale. The final one of the year, round 24 of 24 at Abu Dhabi. I hope to get into the comments section in the chat for the live chat, but I am at work when the premiere goes out, so I'll apologise in advance if I don't make it for the finale, which I'll be very gutted about if I don't. But yeah, I'll try my very best, guys. I will try. Thanks as always for the continued love and support with the series. I'll see you next week. Thanks for watching, guys, and as always, much love.